Hey, welcome back to The Mouse and Men, where we explore the grown-up side of Disney. This week, we are continuing on with our limited series about if you have unlimited time in Walt Disney World, where the fun is unlimited. What do you do? How do you parse down in each of the parks what you would do if you only had a limited amount of time? So a few weeks ago, I started us off. Again, I just wanted to give some props to my co-host Bradley for coming up with this idea. I wanted to really appreciate this idea. I love when it makes us think about how we would interact in and around Disney, or with Disney, or on Disney Plus, those types of things. So like thinking about what is really important to us is a great exercise, I believe. And so when Bradley brought this up, I was so pumped. He allowed me to go first with the Magic Kingdom, and then he had a response last week, and now we're moving on to EPCOT. So in this series, if you're following along at home, and if you're participating as well, we're doing them in order of when they were opened. So we're gonna get all four parks out of the way, plus Disney Springs. So Magic Kingdom, then EPCOT, and then Hollywood Studios, rounding it off with Animal Kingdom, and then Disney Springs as well, how we would do a half day there. So moving on from Magic Kingdom into EPCOT. And I really liked the way that Bradley did his episode in the Magic Kingdom, because he kind of focused on Adventureland specifically, because he's got two young kids. He looked at the parks and what you could really get accomplished if you only had a limited amount of time. And with his small kids, he wanted to go to an area where he could get a lot of stuff done for them, as well as he and his wife. So that got me to thinking too, because I kind of just went into Magic Kingdom just on the purposes of nostalgia. I wanted to hit the things that would really hurt if I left Magic Kingdom and I did not get to ride. So I was kind of all over the park. EPCOT, it's gonna be a little different for me, because now that I've heard the way that Bradley handled things, I had to start thinking a bit in terms of a theme, because EPCOT is just so big. If you start off going to all of the lands, it's gonna take you a while, or all the countries represented, all the pavilions for the countries represented. It's gonna take a long time, because that is a big loop to make. And so I didn't know that it would be the best way of really getting the most out of my day if I was all over the place in EPCOT, because it is so spread out around the Seven Seas Lagoon there. Did I get it right? Anyway, I'm always getting this wrong, and I wish that I had more specific knowledge, but around the lake in EPCOT. So what I thought to myself is, okay, this time I'm gonna give myself the understanding that I'm getting there at opening. So I wanna get as much done as I can from opening on. Usually, I believe EPCOT, sometimes when they open early, that this is not the case, but they usually open, I guess, around 10 a.m. or so. And then they open up the front area first, and then it opens up into the pavilions later on. So what I want to do, my favorite ride in EPCOT, maybe my favorite ride in all of Disney, again, because of that nostalgic ideal that I find such value in, is Spaceship Earth. I'm making a beeline for Spaceship Earth. As you guys, maybe if you've been around since the beginning, when Bradley and I were on campus there at EPCOT, we did a one day, and it's getting as much stuff as you can do, drinking around the world. Spaceship Earth was kind of how I needed to bookend it. If I'm going into EPCOT, I want to start the day and end the day at Spaceship Earth, if at all possible. But I at least want to get it out of the way and ride it once. So that's going to be ride number one for me, Spaceship Earth. Man, I've been so like pulled and torn and excited and then disappointed with all of these ideas pre-pandemic and now mid-pandemic and moving on, of the idea that they were going to kind of revamp Spaceship Earth. I was so pumped about that. Now it seems like that they pushed pause on that, but that's neither here nor there, because whether it's the one that was in existence like in the 80s and early 90s that I remember from childhood, or the one that kind of replaced it to where it kind of currently is, or if it's a new one entirely, I love Spaceship Earth. I love the ride. I love the message of communication and how it is spread over the centuries. Just love Spaceship Earth. Okay, from there, again, this is a typical day in EPCOT. So not the height of the summer where it is packed wall to wall, and maybe not the depths of there's barely anybody there because all the kids are in school and families aren't doing a lot of vacations. And so like maybe some March or April if you're not dealing with spring break, or some like September, October when you're not dealing with fall break, you can maybe find some really just like walk straight on a bunch of the rides. I'm saying this is a typical day in Epcot, where you're probably going to have to ride some rides, wait in some lines, and enjoy it that way. So what I want to do now is I want to make my way over to Mission Space. I love Mission Space. I have fond memories of taking my kids on Mission Space, trying to figure out whether we're going to go the orange route or the green route, depending on how we're going to feel at the end. And so I know that because I only have a half day, I really want to maybe utilize the idea of lightning lanes in Genie Plus. So I may get a Disney or a Genie Plus way to get me on Mission Space first, because what's coming for the rest of the day, I really want to make sure I get it all in. So depending on how long the line is, I may utilize the Genie Plus service there and ride Mission Space, because just after that, hopefully I haven't spun around too much, because now what I want to do is, usually my go-to for a meal would be to go to the Mexican Pavilion and go to the La Hacienda de San Angel and do that. But we have a new restaurant that I have I'm excited about, Space 220 restaurant, where you kind of dine amongst the stars. And so I thought in this, so far I've gotten Mission Space, just took care of that, Spaceship Earth, and now I'm going to Space 220. So maybe a theme in the first half of my half day at Epcot. And so I am going to go to Restaurant 220. Again, I'm sure the reservations are few and far between, but in this perfect scenario of a half day, I'm assuming that I have a reservation for Space 220. I'm going to go there. So my theming so far has been space, but if you look at the menu, there's some options, like if you get the adult pass, I believe is what it's called, or the adult pricing, it's $55. That gets you an entree and an appetizer. So I'm going to play with the theme a little bit here and go out of this world and under the sea. So while I'm in Space 220, I'm going to have a seafood-based meal. So I'm going to start off with the calamari. I think that would be nice. I looked at the tuna tartare. That looks nice as well, and kind of fitting the theme of out of this world and under the sea. But I think I'm going to stick with the calamari. Now, if my wife were with me, I'm sure that her appetizer would be that Caesar salad that's on the menu. So that'd be a nice little combo. Like I could have a couple bites of hers, she can have a couple bites of mine. So we get a little bit of an appetizer with that fried calamari, and we get a little bit of a salad. And then I'm not sure what she would get for her entree, but I'm going with the Blue House salmon for my entree. So I like the idea of, even though I am dining amongst the stars, I'm having some really nice earthbound seafood to really get me through that day. And so enjoying Space 220. I have not been to the restaurant yet, haven't been to Epcot since it's been open. And so I really want to participate in that. Now, if this was a day to where I'd already tried that and maybe ticked that box of eating a nice sit-down restaurant meal so I can say that I've done it, if I was a little bit in a hurry, because this day is only a half day, and I am assuming that I would be in quite a bit of a hurry, I may go to La Hacienda and have some Mexican food there. I may, if I decided to take a right instead of a left after Spaceship Earth when I went to Mission Space and then Space 220 restaurant, if I took a right, maybe my next ride would have been Soarin' around the world, and then my meal would have been there at the land. I love the options that they have there. They're quick, they're nutritious. You can get a good filling meal without that heaviness of like a lot of fried foods stuff. If you're eating there at the land, you have a lot of different options there. A lot of vegetables, a lot of like roasted chicken and vegetables is kind of my go-to when I go there. So if I were to have gone right, that's what I would have done. But I'm going to Space 220 for my restaurant choice. So from there, now I'm kind of on the left side of the park. And what I want to do now is I am going to utilize my Genie Plus opportunity here, even though it's pricey and even though it's difficult, because I'm assuming that Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, it's going to be a long line. And I want to make sure that I ride that, because the last time that I was in Epcot, that wasn't available, that wasn't open yet. So I really want to make sure that even in a half day, I can make Remy's Ratatouille Adventure something that I can tick off my list. Now, I'm going Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and that really goes against my space theme here today. In a couple of months from now, this is February of 2022, but in the summer of 2022, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will open. And if I had the opportunity to be there this summer, I absolutely would keep that space theme. Genie Plus my way as far to the front of the line as I can for the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. But it is not open yet. So I'm going with what is currently today open. And so I'm going to go to Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and make sure that I take care of that. Now, with all of that said, I'm assuming that I won't have a lot more time, because oftentimes EPCOT, for whatever reason, it doesn't stay open as long as the Magic Kingdom or even Hollywood Studios in some respects. But it seems like the EPCOT and the Animal Kingdom aren't open as long. So I'm feeling like I'm getting close to my time. And if I do have any more available time, what I want to do is, currently we are in the EPCOT Festival of the Arts in February. So I would love, because I don't get a chance to walk around and really enjoy those, because usually when I hit up EPCOT and one of these festivals is going on, I'm just trying to hit as many rides and experiences as possible. But knowing that this is a half day, I feel like I could be okay with the idea that I got Spaceship Earth, Mission Space, Space 220, and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure taken care of. The rest of the time, I would love maybe a more leisurely experience inside EPCOT and enjoy the Festival of the Arts. And so with whatever time I have available left, I want to enjoy the festival. This is something that's always been on my bucket list, to just go to EPCOT and just enjoy some of these festivals throughout the year. But again, because I'm usually go, I don't have that opportunity. So I'm gonna spend whatever time I have remaining enjoying the Festival of the Arts. And as I'm heading back out to the buses or to the monorail, if I see that the line at Spaceship Earth is low enough to where I can squeeze this in my time, then maybe I'll ride Spaceship Earth one more time. But for me, Chris, on the Mouse and Men, talking about what I would do if I had a half day in EPCOT, that's really kind of what I want to do. I want to get a nostalgic piece out of the way with Spaceship Earth. I want to get a little bit of excitement with Remy's Ratatouille Adventure and Mission Space. I want to try a new dining experience with Space 220, have a little bit of that salmon with the calamari as an appetizer. And then as I'm coming out, looking at the festival, as I pass by, if I don't see some of those festival culinary options that really tickle my fancy, but just is usually what is there year in and year out, I will probably go by the Mexican Pavilion and pick up a churro. Just classic Mexican dessert there, but also a classic kind of fair food as well. So it really ties in. I always love getting a churro while I'm at EPCOT, and this will be no exception. Again, I can go get a churro down the street and it tastes pretty much the same, but there's just something special about getting it while you're at Walt Disney World. So while I'm at EPCOT, my dessert of choice today will be a churro from the Mexican Pavilion. Again, I think I've run out of time. And so I would love to hear from Bradley. Bradley, what do you have at your half day at EPCOT? And then also, you listeners out there, we want to hear from you too. You can send us a shout out on the social media service of your preference. You can email us if you'd like to do that as well. But we want to hear from you too. How would you spend a half day at EPCOT? What would you have to ride? What could you leave to the side? What do you want to eat? And what could you save until the next time that you're at EPCOT? So for the Mouse and Men, this is your co-host Chris Murphy signing off, but reminding you that you don't want to grow up too fast. So in order to do that, you got to keep exploring. See you soon.